This is the tape measure. It measures up to 60 inches if you want to measure long items. Use a seam gauge or sewing gauge to measure up to 6 inches. It has a slider on it, so if you need to measure something 5/8 of an inch all the way around, this is going to be a 1/2 of an inch, that's going to be 5/8. So you put the slider where you want it to mark and use that at the edge of your fabric, or that at the edge of your fabric, so it keeps it straight. These are spools of thread. This is actually a good brand of thread. It costs a little bit more, actually it costs a lot more than cheaper thread, but you want to spend the money to get this good thread. The cheaper thread just breaks, and this doesn't. So you can have a small spool or a larger spool. These are thimbles. They're hardly ever used anymore, but people put them over their thumb to help push pins and needles through. We have those if you'd like to use them. We use magnetic pin pushers in this lab, so it's pretty cool. If you happen to spill some on the table, you just wipe them up like that. That's how we store ours. In our lab, we have 2 types of scissors. These are the scissors that we use for really nice fabric. These stay on Dr. T's desk. Students have to have a special permission to use these. These are the scissors that we bought last year that are used for sewing. These will stay in a box. It looks like this. We keep the good sewing scissors in this box. They all have great handles this year. Do not use these on paper. These are our paper scissors. They're random. Do not put these in this box. These can be tightened up. If you take a pair of scissors and you can see a lot of daylight between the blades, they're probably not going to cut thin fabric. We can tighten those up and screw them here. Do not use the paper scissors on fabric, and don't use the fabric scissors on paper. These are hand sewing needles, and these are machine needles. Machine needles differ because they have a flat back. You can see the back of them is flat because it goes in the machine that way, and the rounded part generally goes to the front. They come in different sizes, from 11 to 16 and even larger. The sewing needles that we will use, we have sharps in sizes 3 to 9. Students will get to choose which size they want. The larger needles have a larger eye. They're easier to thread, but they're also bigger around, so they may be a little bit harder to push through some material. If your material is pretty thick, you want to get one of the bigger needles. If it's super thin and you have good eyesight, good fine motor skills, you'll be fine with a small one. You will get a 3x5 card, and you will write your first and last name on your 3x5 card, and you will store your pins and needles in this card when they're not in use. That way you always know where they are. If they're not on thread attached to your project, they should be in your card. If you lose your needle and someone else finds it, we put it in this box. This is just a little magnet at the bottom, but if you lose your needle, you have to get one out of this box, and we don't know where it's been, or whose mouth it's been in, or whose hands have been touching it. So I would sanitize it before I use it. So keep up with your needle. These are needle threaders, and to use these, you take this small piece and push it through the eye of the needle, then put your thread on that part and pull it back through if you have trouble threading your needle.